Good morning to everyone. I'd like to call the Public Works Procurement and Contracting Committee meeting to order. Today is November 18th. Can we have a roll call, please?
Calling the roll, Mr. Germana,
Here.
Mr. Miller, Ms. Conwell,
Here.
Mr. Greenspan. Mr. Greenspan is absent. Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. There is a quorum.
Okay, can we have a motion to excuse Mr. Greenspan? He's on vacation.
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any public comment relating to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Great. So let's start with 0228.
You want approval of minutes?
Oh, sure, thanks.
I will make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
November 4th.
Yep. Okay, it's been moved and second on approving the minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Miller. 0228.
Resolution number 2015-0228, declaring that public convenience and welfare requires reconstruction of Tiedemann Road, approaches to Interstate 480 in the city of Brooklyn. Total estimated project cost, $1,400,000.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Jamal Hossani with Public Works. This is Tiedemann Road by 480, the welfare convenience. The average daily traffic on this road is 42,800. The conditions of the road is fair, and the city is asking for help with this project. The total estimated cost is $1.4 million. We have federal earmark of $960,000, and it would be $220,000 from the county and $220,000 from the city. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. First of all, I travel this quite often.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's a very popular interchange. Now, is this going to be for traffic going east and west? Or is it one or the other?
Actually, the state has replaced the bridge deck on this Tiedemann Road, and the approaches to the bridge is what's being done with this project, the two approaches, plus some widening. They're adding a little bit of pavement to the approaches. So the approach on each side of the Tiedemann Road bridge over 480 will be replaced. The concrete will be taken out and brand new concrete will be put in.
So this is not the ingress and egress from 480?
Not the ramps.
It's going to be the Tiedemann?
Tiedemann approaches to the bridge, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The city
So
actually...
now that I know that,
Yeah.
that's even more congested
Yeah.
than the ingress or egress, especially when Key Bank lets loose and so forth.
Oh,
A
absolutely.
lot of times to go west, you're all the way back, you're almost back to Brook Park Road with traffic congestion.
That's why I think there will be a challenge maintaining traffic will be maintained, but they're gonna probably experience some traffic congestions during the construction.
So this is just a resolution declaring that we need to go forward with this.
Yes.
Then you'll be preparing plans and to do this, or do we have those yet?
Actually, the city is taking the lead on preparing the plans and bidding the project. We're just financially contributing to the project. This is another way of making sure that federal money comes back to this area. They've already secured the earmark. They bid the job once, and the bid came in way higher than what they anticipated, around 1.4 million. So the earmark wasn't going to cover the whole thing, and the city asked if we participate, and that's why we're here, to basically give them 50% of the non-federal share.
So they're going to be using those bids?
No, they will have to bid it again.
Okay.
They'll have to bid it again.
So They're waiting for us to pass this in order to go out to bid,
Yes,
and they want to do this in 2016.
15, actually. I mean, sorry, 16. Yes, you're right.
I'm just,
In the
what
spring.
I'm trying to get at is whether it's important for us to go to second reading suspension.
I would ask if you could, yes, please.
Okay. Any other questions from members? Mrs. Conlon?
Through the chair, when was the last time it was done, this project?
I don't have that information. I believe, I know we did, in 2009, we did Tiedemann from Brook Park to Memphis, not this section. In my time here, I don't think the county has done it, so at least 20 years we haven't touched those approaches. But I can get you the exact date when it was last resurfaced in that section.
And since we're putting in, the county's putting in half, how is it determined that they pick, they send out bids versus us sending out bids?
No, this project was originally programmed by the city. They applied for the federal money and the earmark, and they were going to do it on their own. But the bids came in so high that they needed more funds. So in order not to lose the earmark, they're coming to us and asked, hey, can the county help with anything? And this is what is in front of you. We offered them that we will put in up to a maximum of $220,000 toward this project.
Did we check all the other bids that they have? And
No, we did not look at their bids.
okay, because the bid came in at 1.4. I was just wondering if that was the lowest and that they're going to rebid the.
Yeah, they have to rebid it, yes.
Okay. So possibly it would come out less than 1.
Yes, and then our share would be less. But it cannot go more than 220.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller?
If we resurfaced from Brook Park to Memphis, did that not include this area?
No, we suspended around the bridges.
I see.
Yeah, because ODOT was doing also some work over there with the ramps.
And is this basically resurfacing work, or is there other aspects involved in this?
They're actually replacing the whole concrete for the approach. So it's more than resurfacing, yes.
So they're putting in a new base plus a surface.
Yes.
And since this is approach to 480, why is this not state responsibility as opposed to local?
And this is, could be debated. The state decided that they're responsible for the bridge, but not the approaches to the bridge. And I would, I probably would have to call the state and get what section of the revised code that, makes that decision, but I'm not sure. But they did go to the state first, and the state said, no, they don't do the approaches.
Do they get to unilaterally decide what they're responsible for and what they're not? I mean, it sounds nice.
Yeah. I'm sure they had a ruling from the state attorney on that issue. But if you would like, I could find out more why that is.
Yeah, I would like any additional illumination on that point.
Let the record reflect that Councilwoman Simon's with us. Good morning.
Morning.
Are you done, Mr. Miller?
I am.
Okay. Just curious, so everybody knows where this is. This is where the Plain Dealer is on the one side, and then they have, on the other side is the Key Bank. And rumor has it that IKEA is looking. And of course, if IKEA came, that would be north of this. They definitely would, it would be tremendous congestion because that'll be a draw regionally. So are they moving forward? You know anything about that?
Yes, actually, Fran, the economic development director at the city, was going to be here to speak about the IKEA, but she had a 10 o'clock conference call with IKEA today to discuss this. And that is why they're really coming to us. They think this IKEA thing is going to happen, and it's important that they get this project done for them. But I don't know where the negotiation is. But I could find out and tell you. Yeah.
Well, certainly if that came to fruition, that would be definitely, and I would think the state would be jumping over hoops to help them out.
Sure. It is one of the highest traffic generator in the county. I mean, it's
As it is right now.
yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
Because like I'm saying, the traffic backs up if you're gonna be going west, it almost backs up to Brook Park.
Yep.
So, I think we have a need to go to second reading suspension. Is there any objection to that? So I move that this goes to the full council under second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
229.
Resolution number 2015-0229, authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 11084 with Mount Pleasant Now Development Corporation for lease of office space for use by Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Senior and Adult Services, for the period 10/1/2000 through 12/31/2015, to extend the time period to 12/31/2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $2,168,430.
Sorry, good morning, Stan Kozlowski, Public Works. Department of Public Works is requesting a 5-year lease extension with the Mount Pleasant Now Development Corp. The annual rent will be $433,686. The rent will be the same. There'll be no rent increase for the term of this extension. We lease approximately 39,426 square feet and 122 parking spaces. The space is used for the Department of Senior and Adult Services. This lease is funded with 100% of the Health and Human Services levy. And we have Dr. Jones and Eric Martin and a few other people from Mount Pleasant here to answer any questions if you have any. This is a time-sensitive issue, so if possible, I'd like to have this processed with a second reading suspension and approval on second reading.
Okay, thank you. Okay, does Dr. Jones or Mr. Martin want to address this at all?
This is Dr. Jones, the administrator for Senior Adult Services, and we are really appreciative of the opportunity to enter into a 5-year lease with the Mount Pleasant Development Now Corporation for several reasons. One, it gives us an opportunity to really stabilize our operations, to engage in more planning. And second, it allows the owner of the facility to engage in improvements. So I think we have a tremendous partnership going on. I think it's thirdly very advantageous for the community. Mount Pleasant, the building we are in, is symbolic, I think, of the county's presence and of our commitment to providing services not only to seniors, but also to providing services to the residents who really live in that Mount Pleasant community as well. So there's kind of a dual benefit to our presence in that facility.
I'm just wondering, it's kind of coincidental that I went to kindergarten, first grade at Mount Pleasant Elementary. Is there any other reason why this is called Mount Pleasant besides that elementary school?
I think in terms of the geography of the community that's been established over a long period of time, part of it's informed by history. So I think that the school is one part of that history, but Mount Pleasant has had, as you know, a long honored tradition of a particular geography, and we are sitting right in the heart of it. So,
Okay, great. Mrs. Simon, Ms. Simon.
You. Good morning.
good morning.
So in terms of the lease extension, is this, was the original lease due to expire? Are we exercising an option? What's the timing and necessity of this now?
The original lease was due to expire this year, and that's one reason we are hopeful that we can take action before the end of the year, so we have a lease effective January 1, 2016.
Okay. And the terms are similar to that which we've had before, or?
The terms are very similar, and I just wanted to point out, I think that in terms of the rate, $11 per square foot, I think that's more than reasonable. We have agreement that that rate will not be changed in the 5-year period. And as Stan pointed out earlier, it's the same rate that was reflected in the prior year lease extension. So I think that, again, is very symbolic of the partnership, that we have with the Mount Pleasant Development Now Corporation, and I think that's a big plus.
Mr. Miller?
Did this contract have an extension provision as part of the prior contract, or did we have to get an exemption from the Board of Control in order to choose this contract as opposed to a competitive bidding process?
The, Councilman, yeah, this had an extension. It was, Board of Control justification, through OPD on, October 28th. This did not go through the Board of Control's exemption request because we're within the time frame. We're just doing an extension of the contract.
Understood.
So-
Okay. And my second question is whether the Senior Services Division has a long-term plan as to what its space needs are and where in the community it wants to have facilities, or is that a work in progress?
I think there are two responses. We are developing a clear vision. Part of that vision includes our commitment to providing support, as we know, to 21 senior centers, which are distributed throughout Cuyahoga County. However, I think that when we look at the facility we are currently in, that really is our headquarters for senior and adult services, out of which we are providing a number of services, including adult protective services, including our options program, including home support that employs 60 home health aides, and our administrative offices. So totally, we have 177 staff members working out of this facility. And I envision our commitment being longstanding. We're developing.
Is that at this location?
At this location, right. And I think as you know, we moved to this location in 2011. So we are now in the midst of becoming, I think, more highly rooted in the community. And because of our commitment to really wanting to be a part of the community building process, I don't think we want to disrupt that. I think we want to maintain that as much as we possibly can. And as I indicated before, I think it's extremely beneficial for Cuyahoga County to really have a presence that's very visible at the neighborhood level, and Mount Pleasant presents that opportunity.
And not including the senior centers where we're basically providing funding assistance but not actually running the programs. Not including those, are there any other locations other than this Mount Pleasant location where senior and adult services is running operations?
Currently, the majority of our work is home-based. So we're working directly in the homes of residents. And then that represents, I think, a significant part of the population that we are reaching. We're also out of this facility providing a host of information services. We're providing benefit checkups. We run those through a number of churches, a number of community organizations throughout Cuyahoga County. But again, these tie back to our headquarter operations. So that when you look at distribution of service, it includes our home-based program. It includes our services in the senior centers themselves. And it also includes the work we're engaging with other community partners like churches, like synagogues, and like community organizations. So we have a wide distribution pattern, but it's nice to have a anchor point that we can use as our headquarters for senior adult services.
Okay, and I would just add that Ms. Brown has commented previously on how important it is to have a long-term contract on this location so that there can be improvements made and that Mount Pleasant Development Corporation has some predictability in their future. So I support the contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Like the record reflect that the Councilwoman Brown is with us. Thank you. Ms. Simon?
Thank you. I just have a follow-up question. When I'm hearing about trending and seniors, and there's less seniors actually going out to the senior centers, and there's more of a demand, and I think you're addressing that with meeting seniors at their home. Is that what you're seeing as well? Like the seniors are less desire to go out to these lunches during the day and to be there for whatever reason? Is it
It's
trend?
interesting. I think that what we're hearing more of is that there's a need for transportation, for example, that's highly reliable. So we're trying to ensure that we provide that kind of support because that's been a real stumbling block and a real barrier. So that's one response. The second response is that it's interesting. We're serving increasingly more seniors who are 85 years of age and older. So I think that we have to begin thinking about how we're going to provide the kinds of services we are providing to that population because they're becoming much frailer than what they have been in the past. That's a growing population. So I think in terms of the service delivery system, it has to offer variations, it has to offer variety, because there's no one system that fits the needs of the population in a singular kind of fashion. We have to have a capacity to serve them in senior centers, in their homes, and community organizations. We have to have that kind of flexibility, and that's what we're kind of building toward. Now, it's interesting. When you travel to a senior center in Strongsville, they really are bursting at the seams. I mean, I was absolutely amazed at the attendance. And I'm starting to see that at a number of other senior centers. We're seeing the attendance build in the senior center in East Cleveland. So I think that there are strong supports like transportation, meals are being provided, and strong adult planning is occurring. You see a great pull. We want to enhance that by adding new elements. So through the Senior Center Innovation Fund, we want to really foster collaborations. We want to foster innovations. We want to foster the embracing of best practices. So we're moving, I think, more and more in that direction of developing strategies that are more responsive to the needs of seniors that would include attending senior centers.
How is what was formerly called the Tri-City Consortium, South Euclid, Lyndhurst, Highland Heights, and Mayfield, would you say their attendance is going down rather than going up?
Exactly, and that's the kind of group we want to really partner with. And I'm hopeful that they might apply for one of the grants through the Senior Center Innovation Fund, where we'll provide consultation services to help them really look at conducting a needs assessment and really thinking through what do we have to do to be more responsive outside of the traditional offering that we are now providing to the community.
Right, with seniors living longer, I
Yes.
guess that's what's happening.
Absolutely.
So it's the shift of what the needs are.
Right.
It's a combination, it's not it's a holistic approach. So I
Exactly.
understand, thanks.
You know, it seems to me that the benefit assistance that is provided, especially for the seniors, the super seniors, it's so confusing and it's so changing. So to keep up with the changes and so on and so forth. So I think that the benefit, being able to go to this agency instead of having to hire an attorney, a senior specialty attorney, it seems like it's a great service to the seniors. Councilwoman Brown, did you have any questions or any comment? Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Conwell, go ahead.
I think this a question to be to Stan. Well, maybe not. It might be to Dr. Jones. Are there any future plans to expand or utilize more space? And is that made available?
Tom Stone is here, and Tom Stone is the director of the Mount Pleasant Development Now Corporation. And I know in the conversation we have had, we're talking about really looking at leasing space on the first floor. So you want to make a comment about that?
Thank you to the chair and to the councilwoman. Certainly, right now, the Division of Senior and Adult Services is occupying 39,000 square feet of office space. That's on the second and third floor. We do have additional space available on the first floor. Right now, that's approximately about 6,000 square feet that is available. One of the things that we've also done in this renewal contract is through the lease, it provides for Mount Pleasant Now Development Corporation. We will be securing funds to allow a reserve fund to be put in place so that if the Division of Senior Adult Services wants to do any type of additional changes, modifications, expansions, there will be a fund, and that would be about $35,000 to assist in that process. That's to be made available at their desire, wishes. So I think we have additional space that could be offered. We also take into account that this is a 5-year period, so that there is a reserve fund that's being put in place. There's also, again, we will be making additional improvements to the building as a result of the lease being approved and the refinancing that we're doing with the local financial institution. So as best as possible, we've looked at the contingency of the need for additional expansion.
Okay. And I guess my second question would be, I don't know who would answer. Is there any collaborations going on where Mount Pleasant is located with Life Exchange and Murtis Taylor? I mean, we talk about seniors living longer. I know they deal with a lot of mental health issues with seniors aging in that population. I was just wondering if there could be some sort of collaboration in regards to seniors that have mental health issues and they're aging and living longer, because medicines are better and things of that nature.
I'll make one comment in terms of the overall collaborations within the community, and I think that's why it's really I think a benefit to have the Division of Senior Adult Services located in our facility. Again, as the Community Development Corporation servicing the community, we've also established a collaborative group called the Southeast Executive Roundtable, and that is a collaboration of all of our institutions, organizations that are focused on community stabilization, dealing with the residents, and really moving the community forward. In that collaboration, you do have Murders Taylors as a member of the Life Exchange Center. We have youth organizations. We have the Ministerial Alliance. Again, the focus to bring the community together and look at what are the pertinent issues that need to be looked at, what are the plans that need to be put forward. And again, with the Division of Senior Adult Services, again, we have the seniors being a growing population in their area. And so what are the needs, what are the programs that need to be implemented? And I think with us all being at the table, it allows us now to formulate, how do we come together and collaborate better? So that's from a community perspective. I don't know if Dr. Jones, you want to.
Yeah, I think that the question about the availability of mental health services for seniors is a very good question. And that is an area that needs to be addressed. I think we're doing well with providing basics like congregate meals, for example. But in our work, we do provide funding to the Murders Taylor Center for senior services. And I think in the next planning cycle, we want to look more specifically at mental health. Mental health is becoming a major, major issue within the senior services area. So we have to find a way to address that. Now, I think that we've gotten through the budget process. I would like to have some conversations with the Adams Board, talk with them, and look at how we might develop a partnership or collaboration to really address this. So I'm hearing this issue more and more. We hear from the West Side Community House, and we're hearing it from Murders Taylor, and we're hearing it from our own team members who are observing this behavior in the homes more, dementia, mental health. And I think as the population grows, as we know that 31% of the population will be 60 years of age and older, but within the next 15 years, that we have to find a way to incorporate this into the services we provide to seniors in our community.
Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I think I would just want to echo Councilman Miller's sentiment. This is a key lease agreement, not just for us as the county providing health and human services to seniors and adults, but it will have a residual impact in the community. And that was one of the reasons I tried to strongly advocate that we see a long-term lease, because it will have it will aid Mount Pleasant now in receiving some of the financial benefits that will help improve the community at large. If you could, before I close, if you could speak to some of the improvements that will take place with the security, because I know, again, this is a community that is suffering in many aspects. So empowering them to be able to do some things to help improve it with this lease is what's key for me. So if you could speak to that a little bit.
Well, directly in the lease, there'll be improvements to the building, and then we can go into just overall the community. But through having a long-term lease and being a former banker, so now we're working with our financial institution to refinance the existing debt on the building, which would then allow us to provide improvements to the building. And there is a new security and access system that will be put in, so to heighten security around the building internally for both the staff and clients coming to the building. So that will be put in place. There's some other improvements, such as basically separating out the electrical system so that we'll have a more defined way of determining what the county is using and what we might be using on the first floor until this additional expansion. But then also just, I think overall, when we look at this facility and by the lease flowing through Mount Pleasant Island Development Corporation, being the community development corporation servicing this community for, again, we just celebrated our 27th year. And this really grows out of the history with the county, going back to 2001 when the building was constructed specifically for the county to lease. At that time, leased 100% of the building. and that was a 10-year lease. And so, and then that expired in 2011. We know that county government changed, and then so there was some changes in terms of the programming for the building. But we understood then, and the county government at that time understood that this was not only a place that the county would operate its programming, but it would also be an anchor. It would be a catalyst for the development that was going on in this community. And it has been. It's an anchor. And making sure that flow through the Community Development Corporation, we've been able to do other projects from really that leasing revenue. We've been able to also establish and construct a 40-unit senior facility. Again, that's a growing need, not only servicing them and their needs, but they want to remain in the community. And we've built a number of single-family homes in the community through the low-income housing tax credit program, but our seniors saying, we want to stay in Mount Pleasant. What are you providing? So we built a 48-unit senior facility. We were also involved, in the development of the Life Exchange Center. And so there's been a number of projects that we've been able to facilitate either as a leader, as a developer, again, as a result of the resources, the financial resources that are flowing through us as a result of this lease. It is, I would say, our major source of revenue at this time. And so by having that in place, it allows us to do long-term planning. We've just released our strategic plan, which will be very comprehensive in scope. It's not just bricks and mortars, but we're looking at community engagement. We're looking at how do we look at all the parts of our community, the seniors, the young people, how we're looking at economic development. So by having this lease in place, it certainly strengthens our financial positions and allows us to continue to move the community forward in planning and implementation of programs, and help us to then create stronger partnerships. And certainly Senior Adult Services is a part of that. And all the other organizations. So it is an anchor. And I think we would agree that all communities, they need some type of anchor, and this is an anchor in many ways. Not only are you have a facility that you're doing great work, seniors have a place to come to and receive the appropriate services, but again, this facility and the revenue flowing through us allows us to, again, continue to improve conditions. And that is the condition for the people, the citizens of the Cuyahoga County, certainly that live within Mount Pleasant. So I could go on and on and on, but again, I think it's the facility and remaining open and the funds flowing through our organization. Again, we're not a for-profit institution. We're a nonprofit. We're focused on mission, and that is to stabilize and enhance the quality of life in the community.
Thank you, and I think that's important for this body to know and I hope that this will. I'm confident, but I hope that I'm urging my colleagues and strongly requesting their support for this lease to move forward, because it is an anchor in the community, and it kind of ties into a project we recently approved for the Shaker, the Van Aken project. This is literally less than 10 minutes away. Chagrin is a thoroughfare that connects our communities, suburbs to the inner city. So Chagrin Kinsman, it is an anchor for both the suburban community and the inner city. And so I really, really humbly but boldly request my colleagues' support for this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you answered my question. I was wondering what was in this building before, because you were saying it was symbolic, but now I hear it was built in 2001, so I was racking my brain as what's at 138th in Kinsman. I couldn't think of anything. But so, with that said, Stan, you said you'd like to have this on second reading suspension so that we could be in place.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any objection to second reading suspension? Okay. Council Mill moves for second reading suspension. Second by Mrs. Conwell. Any final questions? Okay, we'll add Ms. Brown. Please add my name out of respect to my grandparents on both sides that lived in Mount Pleasant.
I would also like
Mr. Miller and Mrs. Conwell.
And I just have something to say to Stan. Thank you, Stan, for moving this along and helping work Internal Miracles.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. 230.
Resolution number 2015-0230, authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 10867 with the Near West Side Multi-Service Corporation doing business as May Dugan Center for lease of office space for use by Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas Adult Probation Department for the period 8/1/2010 through 7/31/2015, to extend the time period to 7/31/2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $174,820.
Good morning, Stan Kozaleski, Public Works. We're here requesting a 5-year lease extension with the Near West Side Multi-Service Center, also known as the May Dugan Center. This action will actually exercise a 5-year option that was in the original lease. Some particulars: the annual rent will be $32,964. The rent will be the same. There will be no rent increase. We lease approximately 2,680 square feet. The space is for the Common Pleas Courts Adults Probation Office. And one of the functions at this, if I can, as I learned a little bit about this facility, per House Bill 86, the county needs to keep its low-risk adult on probation separate from the moderate and high risk. The moderate and high risk adults on probation are processed through the Marion Building area. So this is a kind of a requirement by a House bill to keep the different types of offenders separated. We also have some gentlemen here. We have Rick Kem, hopefully I said that right, from the May Dugan Center. I have Jim Stake, I'm sorry, my writing is bad, and James Toth from the probation office to answer any questions. Thank you.
I noticed this was from, well, I guess the lease expired July 31st.
Yes. One of the things we had on this one was caught up. This actually had an exemption request to Councilman Miller's item on the previous. This one actually went through Board of Controls for an exemption request on 9/8/15, and then just in the processing, we were it got delayed in the process of getting this extension moving forward. So,
can you just explain what the exemption request is?
Because if you're past the time frame when this lease was, hold on, let me find the date.
8/1/2010
Yes.
to
So
July 31st.
once we're past the time of the existing lease, we have to do, the county's procedure is you have to go through the Board of Controls for an exemption request to extend it once the lease expires. So that's the process here. On the previous item, it just goes through OPD's process because you're still within the terms of the existing agreement. But that's the difference on these two items. One, we were late in getting processed, and then it just got, some internal processing got delayed. The previous one, we're actually ahead. We won't.
On time.
Correct.
Mrs. Conwell.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Stanislawski, has all the payments been made and caught up?
Yes, they have.
Okay. Of course, I would like to add my name and just to ask that my colleagues support this lease. It's needed in the community. I don't know why it initially was picked at May Dugan Center, but they do some outstanding work as well as the Mount Pleasant now on the west side, and there's a lot of programming within that. And I believe that there's some additional space that is still available in May Dugan Center as well. So I was just wondering, with this program, and since House Bill 86 kind of says that we need to separate, is there any thoughts of expansion or anything that is possibly needed for that program for the adult protection probation department?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think we're meeting existing needs right now. But.
Good morning. I'm Jim Starks with the Probation Department. We are going to be moving a couple more officers out there shortly in the next month or so. They do our expungement writing for us. The key role that the West Side office plays for us is as was mentioned with House Bill 86. Studies have shown repeatedly that when you separate your lower risk probationers from your moderates and your highs, they don't learn the bad habits of some of the ones that have been through the system more often. So it plays a critical role for us having this space over there where we can put our low-risk clientele. We are, at the moment, we don't have any plans for any further expansion behind the 2 expungement writers that we are moving out there shortly. But we are always, as more and more individuals coming through the criminal justice system are being placed on probation, and we're making more efforts to keep people out of prison. We do see our caseloads expanding as time goes by, so I foresee in the future that there might be some need for expansion as well.
And I do like that it's near a bus line. It's very
convenient.
very
Our
accessible.
low-risk individuals, many of them are employed, and so if they're not, so there's free parking over there. It's convenient. They don't have to come downtown and park, pay $10, $15 to park, and like you mentioned, it is on a bus line for those that don't have cars, so it's easy access for them as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller?
Are we currently operating month to month in the absence of a contract?
I believe that to be the case.
Is there any thought been given to extending it to December 31st, 2020, so that it's on a calendar year basis?
I think we go by the term. I know about 5 years ago, my thoughts were when I got into this new role coming from the engineer's office, I thought it would be nice to be on a calendar year. I think my fiscal staff was ready to shoot me because if you have all that stuff coming due at one time, it becomes a process issue. So I think we do, I mean, as they're new, as they come through, we like to process them as they come through so staff doesn't get bogged down at one time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That makes a lot of sense.
I learned a lot, let me tell you.
Because we would be processing this all at once. And we only have 2 hours.
That's true.
Mr. Chairman, I would like my name added as well. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? So there's a need to go second reading suspension on this one, of course.
Yes, please, thank you.
Okay. Is there any objection? No objection?
I'll make a motion to send this to the full council for second reading suspension.
Second.
Okay, it's been versed and seconded. Any final questions? All those in favor of sending this to full council on second reading suspension, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay? Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes our agenda. Is there any public comment unrelated?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr. Dave Colsar.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Dave Colsar. I'm the building commissioner for the city of Brooklyn, and I just wanted to take a minute to thank you all for consideration for our project. On behalf of our mayor and the city of Brooklyn, this is a well-needed traffic bog down that we feel, as it is right now, is needed, and for future development, it'll very much be needed. I know there have been reports of a specific retailer moving to the city of Brooklyn, and I can only attest that we have had conversations and have been working with a confidential client for a large retail space on Tiedemann Road. Nothing is finalized, of course, and all the details that I know of that. But along with that, we also have 100 acres of land, which was the American Greetings headquarters, and we're looking for major redevelopment of that area. So with that, I just want to say thank you, and if anyone has any questions, be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you very much. And if I misspoke by asking the question about that certain retail store,
That's
I
quite all right.
apologize. I didn't realize it was a secret.
Everyone Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
the plain dealer
Right.
didn't apologize.
Yeah.
And that's where I read about it, so.
Yeah, location, right next to the major
It's a
media
great
outlet, you
location.
know, it's,
It's a great location.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
okay, thank you.
Any other comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one else has signed in.
Okay, and to anybody?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Thanks. To whomever from Public Works, is there a project that's going to be dealing with Richmond Road coming up through Euclid or Richmond Heights?
I'm not aware of any
Okay.
at this time.
Okay.
So I don't know. if
Is that
this-
one of our roads? Do you know, Stan?
I think Richmond Road, part of it's a state route.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which section you're talking about. Part of I think most of it's a state route.
It's state.
From maybe Chardon Road north.
Okay.
Or south, maybe Chardon north up, changes to that Babbitt Road. I can't remember as it snakes down to Euclid.
I know it
but-
shifts, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we're not aware of anything at this time.
Okay, thanks.
One question, Stan. It's not a question, just asking if, in previous administration, Bunny had provided us on Public Works or the committee members that wanted a layout, a kind of all the projects that we voted on, just so we know what, moving forward, what's coming up.
We'll get you a copy of our capital plan. Do you want it just for the next year or like a 5-year project? I mean, what we have?
I think last time you had just released maybe a 2-year plan. But
Okay.
if you have a 5-year laid out.
A lot of what we do is when we go out, we usually look at for the next year or two when we meet with like the contractors. Here's a lot of the projects that are imminent and what they're going on. It would handle road bridge facility. We can definitely forward that to you.
Thank you.
And I think through the council's budgeting process, I think we had put some projects in there for the 5-year. The way we like to focus is usually those next 2 years, they're pretty much tied down because if there's federal funding and processes, you have a lot of work to do ahead of time. So those usually 2 years we're pretty set on. Sometimes in years 3 through 5, depending on what funding source in the process, sometimes those have a tendency to slip a little bit depending if there's right-of-way or environmental issues or stuff like that. So usually the first 2 years are pretty tight. I'll get you that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Miller?
Could you have that sent to the clerk so that it could be distributed to all of us?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, as we close down on this meeting, I invited Councilman Tuma from Parma to view us on live stream, and I hope you see that we do important work here at the County Council. So that concludes our business. This meeting stands adjourned.